Morning guys, Chris here. So I'm just on the beach here, as you can see. It's quite nice today. Not too sunny at the moment, but it should get a bit nicer soon. So today guys, I just want to do a video on veganism and what does veganism mean to me, or why am I vegan basically. And this is really off the back of a video I did about a week ago now called Do YouTube Vegans Care About Animals? And this is really, guys, I'm not really sure if there's much of a purpose to this video as such. I'm basically just sharing with you what veganism, means to me. So when I originally went vegan, guys, it was quite simply because I didn't want heart disease and I didn't want cancer. So I watched Forks Over Knives and I came to the realization that, most of our problems in society, they're all caused by animal products, overwhelmingly such, heart disease, cancer, obesity, etc. And I really wanted to go vegan, and I watched Forks Over Knives in about November, December 2013, and I did start to cut down on my animal product consumption, but I was still having animal products, I'm afraid to say. And it got to about November 2014, and I really wanted to, go vegan. And I was looking on YouTube, and I came across different videos. There was this one guy in England across the way over there, my hand right, and he was making videos saying, you can eat bagels, you can eat this, all this processed junk food. Straight away I knew, that's not for me, that's not the direction I want to take my life in. And then by the grace of God, I managed to come across Harley. So I came across Dune Rider, Harley Johnstone, for those of you who don't know him, and his videos really changed my life. So up until that point, my big sticking point was I didn't know, what can I have for breakfast? What can I, do this meal? What can I do for that meal? And I was really, in a lot of ways, kind of stuck. And his videos really helped me to sort of realize, what, I can eat fruit for breakfast if I want to. And he, in turn, introduced me to, other doctors like Dr. McDougall, Dr. Bernard, Dr. Greger, etc. And for me, like the biggest reason why I wanted to go vegan was because I didn't want heart disease and I didn't want cancer. And for me, vegan, health is probably one of the biggest aspects of veganism. Now, then I know a lot of you are going to say veganism is about the animals, but I think you need to look at sort of the bigger picture. A lot of people, they initially do go vegan for their own health, and I don't think there's anything selfish in that. We live in a society where people are basically, overweight or obese. They've got hypertension, they've got pre-diabetes, or they have type 2. People are really, they're sick and dying gradually, and people don't always have the, how can I put this, the mental capacity to really, how can I put it, feel empathy for animals and change their lives to benefit animals. Now then, it isn't because those people are, let's say, stupid or unintelligent. That's not what I'm saying when I say they don't have the mental capacity. But what I'm saying is, in that moment in time, they're so unhealthy, they're so overwhelmed by other problems in life that they just can't really, change such a big part of their life, i.e. the food they eat, for, animals. So I think for me personally, the original reason why I went vegan, was for health. I'm sure at the back of my mind somewhere, I probably thought, it'll be good because I'm not, contributing to the suffering of animals. But for me, it was about, heart disease and cancer. I didn't want them. I learned from Forks Over Knives, that's what causes it, and I didn't want it. And it was quite quickly, though, I became sort of vegan for the animals as well. So I started seeing Freely in Harley's videos, and I was like, who's this chick? Why is this kind of hippie chick always in Harley's videos? Who is she? And I didn't realise that she was basically a big YouTuber in her own right. I'm not sure how big she was back in November 2014. I think she might have been a bit smaller, but I started watching a lot of Freely's videos, and I saw videos of, baby chicks, being ground down. I saw, the way that animals were basically treated. And for me, as soon as I watched those videos, I then sort of became sort of consciously vegan for the animals, specifically so, when I just realised just how bad the suffering was. And I think a lot of people, guys, even though they may go vegan for health reasons initially, a lot of the time they do end up, quite quickly vegan for the animals. You know, once they clear up the, you know, a lot of their health issues, when they have more mental clarity because they don't have so much fat in their body, you know, reducing oxygen uptake to the brain, etc. When they got more, you know, physical and mental energy and clarity, they're able to really, you know, look at their past actions and see how that they affect animals, and see how the actions of, you know, others now are affecting animals now. And so for me, the second reason was basically animals. You know, I don't want to contribute towards the suffering of animals in any way, shape or form. Now then, even though, how can I put it? Even though, you know, I spent the first 27 years of my life, so, you know, eating animal products and thinking that, you know, it was my right to do so, that it was, you know, manly, you know, what we're supposed to do, etc. I've always, you know, within me had a sort of a compassion and an empathy towards animals, which, you know, I suppose Freely's videos managed to help me kind of perhaps bring out to its fullest extent, or, you know, to the extent that needs to be as such. So, for example, I would say, you know, go out for walks and stuff, and if I saw like a worm or something crossing the road, you know, I would pick that worm up and I would put it in a hedge or something. If I saw a hedgehog crossing the road in busy traffic, I would stop my car and I would go and get that hedgehog as quickly as I could and carry it somewhere so it wouldn't get killed. And that's before I went vegan. So I always had that, you know, compassion for animals within me, but I suppose I never really managed to associate with my actions with, you know, the consequences of what was happening to animals. And I think a lot of people need to realize is that people who choose to eat animal products, you know, they're not necessarily, you know, evil, you know, like some people make out. They're not, you know, bad people. A lot of people who eat the majority of people who eat animal products, they do it because, you know, that is how they have been conditioned by society. That's how they've been conditioned by their parents. That's how they've been conditioned by the media, by schools. You know, if you look at a lot of schools, they give animal products to children. In France, actually, it's a legal requirement that children are fed animal products. You're not allowed to, you know, have kids, you know, basically be vegan in France. So it's basically like a French policy that kids are fed, you know, meat as part of their, you know, their meals in school. And, you know, you look in America, most schools they receive federal funding in America for food. Basically, they have to spend that money on certain things, of which will be animal products. So, you know, yogurt or yogurts, as you would say in America, you know, milk cartons, you know, meat, a lot of processed junk food, and very little, you know, fresh fruits and vegetables. So a lot of people, guys, you need to realize that just because they eat animals, that doesn't mean that they're bad people. It doesn't mean that they're evil. It doesn't mean that they're horrible. It just means that, you know, we need to help them. And, you know, by demonizing people, you know, who eat animal products, you know, it isn't the way forward. You know, and I know I've probably, you know, I think I made a video about what's his name, Furious Pete, a while ago. He was a bit of a different case because he was specifically, you know, mocking vegans, you know, mocking, you know, PETA. You know, he had pictures of cows on his like shirt with like forks going into them. He was really being very mean and nasty and vindictive, and he was really, I think, the exception to the rule. I think the majority of people in society, they are, you know, kind, caring people. It's just that they don't necessarily understand that what they're eating used to be an animal. And I'd say the next reason, guys, why I went vegan, this one was, not why I went vegan, sorry, but, you know, the third reason, you know, why I am vegan as such is, you know, for the children. And this here, guys, is, I suppose, is sort of thanks to Harley for kind of, you know, doing this for me through his videos. So the first sort of reason, guys, why I'm vegan is for the children. So every single day about 17,000 children die from starvation, and probably about 25 to 30,000 people total, including those children, die from starvation every single day. Now then, I used to think that that was basically an inevitability because of the situation those people were in, i.e. because they were in a war-torn country, or because they I know it sounds quite horrible to say this, but because perhaps they weren't as civilized as us or as advanced as us, they didn't have our technology, etc. And that really isn't the case. The reason why the majority of people die from starvation every single day is because we eat animals. So what happens is, guys, it's not just a case that the majority of animals we eat are put in fields and fed grass. They're actually fed grain, lots and lots of grain. Now then, if you were to take all of the grain in the world that's fed to animals and instead feed it to people, you would wipe out food hunger, food poverty, immediately, essentially. Now then, if the amount of grain that's actually given to, not sure what that was, the amount of grain that's given to feed animals would actually feed about 11 billion people or so extra, or something crazy like that. I don't quote me on that. I can't remember the exact figure, but essentially the amount of people that could be fed by that extra grain would completely wipe out food poverty. It's extremely high, and I never knew that. And when I watched Harley's videos, and I came to the realization that, you know what, that is why these children are dying. If you actually look in Africa, there is a lot of grain that's actually grown in Africa, but what happens is the people there can't afford to buy it a lot of the time, because what happens is companies in the West will actually buy that grain to actually feed to their own cattle, and what happens is they're willing to pay a higher price than what people in those local countries can afford, and as a result, you then see that grain being exported for the animal to be fed to animals, and a lot of people will say that that isn't true. If we all went vegan, that wouldn't stop anyone from dying. And their argument is that because of capitalism and the way the system works, that because we weren't eating the animal products anymore, there wouldn't be the demand for the grain to feed those animals, and therefore people would stop producing the grain. And I think this really is like people, they come up with stuff like this to almost like paralyze themselves into a state of inaction. They come up with all of these excuses. Now then, I'm not saying that governments around the world would continue to arrange for grain to be produced to help these children who are starving and what have you. But what I'm saying is that if everybody went vegan, no, you don't even need everyone to go vegan, but if you had a large number of people go vegan, you would get to the stage where you could basically end world hunger. Now then, we would obviously need governments, Western governments, to put forward their cash to pay for people to continue growing grain and then arrange for it to be shipped out to places like Africa, etc. But it could happen. It could happen. Fourth reason why I'm vegan, guys, is probably the environment. So I look at the environment that we live in, the world we live in, and we are just polluting it. We are destroying it completely. We're destroying it with all of the oil that we pump out to sea. All of the toxic rubbish that goes out to sea. It's often cheaper for companies to just dump their waste into the sea and pay any fines they may get should they be caught. I'm vegan, because I don't want to see rainforests burnt down, destroyed, and that's basically it, guys. So as you can see, like, as time's gone on as a vegan, my reasons for going vegan have increased. Basically, they're always increasing. There's always another reason for me to go vegan. So like I said, the environment, I don't want to contribute towards the extinction of any animals, any endangered animals. I don't want to contribute towards rainforests being cut down so that soy or grain can be grown to be fed to cattle. Fifth reason for me going vegan, guys, specifically is global warming. If you look, about 50% minimum of greenhouse gases are caused by animal products. The growing of the animal products, the growing of the grain to be fed to those animals, the transportation of the animals, etc. We could stop global warming by everyone going vegan. You know, we could reduce greenhouse gases by 50%, and you know, the Earth has the ability to, you know, heal itself given the right circumstances, given the right conditions. All we need to do is, you know, stop polluting it, stop damaging it, stop pumping carbon into the atmosphere, stop overwhelming the oceans with the amount of carbon that it needs to be, you know, absorbed and eliminated. What else, guys? And the legions of, you know, like the reasons for, you know, being vegan are legion. You know, the other reasons for, you know, being vegan, you know, reducing global deficits, your national deficits. If you look at the US, for example, the US spends probably about what, $1 trillion a year roughly on Medicaid, Medicare, you know, healthcare programs for things caused like, you know, heart disease, diabetes, pre-diabetes, obesity, cancer, etc. All things which are overwhelmingly mainly caused by, you know, animal products. So if you look in the West and, you know, different countries went vegan, what would happen is they could actually, you know, reduce their deficits. They could reduce the, you know, amount of money they're having to spend. If you look at like England, for example, behind me, you know, their national health service is dying. They don't have enough doctors, they don't have enough nurses, there are too many patients, not enough beds, and they're struggling. A lot of different NHS trusts are running massive deficits, massive debts, and there's probably no way of them to really, you know, sort that out. And why is that? Because of animal products, you know, meat, fish, chicken, eggs, milk and dairy, things that are making people over in England behind me, you know, fat, sick and dying. You know, look at the work, you know, Dr. McDougall, Neil Bernard, Colwell Esselstyn, Joel Kahn, Garth Davis, Michael Greger, Professor Campbell, etc. They've shown overwhelmingly such, and this is just, you know, a small group of people, how animal products have caused the majority of our problems. So another reason to, you know, why I'm vegan is because I don't want to, you know, in my own country contribute towards, you know, unnecessary spending, frivolous spending, etc. Because that's basically what it is, because those people don't have to be ill in the first place. And, you know, to give you an example for myself, so where I live in the Isle of Man, for those of you guys in America, we have what we call like a national health service. So I don't actually have to, you know, pay for my healthcare, such you don't have any insurance. What happens is a society, we all pay in to the government and they provide us with healthcare. Now then, it doesn't matter whether you get, you know, a brain tumour, you get type 2 diabetes, you get heart disease, whatever, you'll be taken care of. Now then, you may not be taken care of immediately, in that you may not receive surgery or radiation immediately, depending on your situation, depends on how, you know, urgent it is, etc. But in my case, guys, you know, as many of you know, I've got type 1 diabetes. That means I have no beta cells anymore. My immune system has attacked them and destroyed them. I no longer produce insulin, and without insulin I would die. So my government, you know, they basically pay for my insulin. So I get insulin each month. Well, I say each month, not each month, because it lasts me, one pen of insulin lasts me 24 days. So I have to go and get insulin very rarely. But the way it sort of how can I put this, reduce my personal impact on my own country here, is that when I went vegan, it cut my insulin needs by 2/3. So now my insulin lasts me longer, I don't have to use as much, and as a result, that's, you know, less spending that my government has to do. The amount that I cost my government as a diabetic, next to nothing, because of my vegan diet. You know, compared to the you know, the average diabetic, you know, my costs are minimal. I know it sounds kind of cocky for me to say this, but I can't imagine there being that many other diabetics out there who, in my own country, who have less of a financial impact than I do. Because, and it's not because there's anything special about me, but there's something special about the vegan diet, because it promotes insulin sensitivity. And that's basically it, guys. So I mean, you know, if any of you out there with diabetes who use insulin, you know, you personally can have, you know, a positive impact in your own country by going vegan. You know, reduce, you know, less impact, less healthcare costs, etc. Another reason, guys, why I'm vegan, like I said, they're always going on, is if you look at the Amazon, for example, and the rainforests out there, a lot of indigenous people out there, they're actually massacred quite regularly. So what happens is when different indigenous tribes are discovered for the first time in either Brazil or Bolivia, etc. Often what happens is they will receive government protection as soon as the government learns about them. You know, the lands they live on, you know, they will be classed as, you know, being, you know, theirs essentially. You know, I don't know the ins and outs for each country, but generally speaking, what happens is, you know, the governments there, they will try and protect them. They can receive, you know, a kind of special status as such. But what happens is if you get, you know, loggers there who are cutting down the rainforest, you know, to make way for cattle or to make way for, you know, soy or grain to be grown to feed those cattle. What will happen is they'll kill them. If they discover, you know, some indigenous people, they will murder them. They will stab them. They will shoot them. They will burn them alive, and they will eradicate every trace of them they can, because all they care about is money. And what is the driving force behind this? Us, you know, predominantly the West, with our, you know, our greed and our obsession with animal products. You know, if we didn't, you know, want animal products, if we ate a vegan diet, the demand to actually destroy these rainforests wouldn't be there, and as a result, you wouldn't have these loggers destroying these environments, discovering indigenous people as they, you know, as they're going along, and then massacring them. Now then, I'll try and remember to leave some links in the description below of different articles detailing this. There was some actually the other day on Reuters, or yesterday, that I saw actually when I was in work, which I've saved to share with you guys, so you can go away and look at them. And you can actually look over the years, guys, and there's been numerous articles, you know, doing this. So for any of you who are watching and you don't see the links in the description, it means I've forgotten, because this video is so long already, like 21 minutes. So do me a favor, just let me know in the comments below I haven't done it, and I'll add them to the description. And what other reasons are there for me going vegan? So that's basically it, guys. You know, so that's all the reasons why I'm kind of vegan, I think. So, you know, number one, health. Number two, the animals. Number three, the environment. You know, for example, can you see where I am here now? So where I am now, I'm on the beach here, and above me is a lot of farmland. And what happens is, all of this right now is actually collapsing into the sea gradually. And what's happening is, it isn't the seawater behind me, but what's happening is there's so much water runoff from the land. As the water comes along, what happens is it comes over the edge and it's eroding all of this here and taking it into the sea. There's some more down there as well. You can see all this here, and basically it's all being taken in, and it's because you know, all of this is essentially fields. Naturally there would be trees here, but because, you know, over, I don't know, a couple of hundred years or so, you know, there's probably been, all the trees were cut down a long time ago, so now the water just runs off. But if instead, you know, we reduced our need for, you know, animal products, and therefore freed up, you know, land capacity, there wouldn't be the need to use all this land in the first place. So instead, what you could do is you could plant trees up there instead, which would absorb that extra water. So that's, you know, that's another example, you know, benefit of veganism. So like I said, guys, number one, for health. Number two, the animals. Number three, the environment. You know, I don't want to see animals, you know, being extinct needlessly. I don't want to see the habitat in which I live in, you know, degrade. You know, number four, global warming. You know, the majority of, you know, greenhouse gases caused by animal products, 50%. I don't want to contribute towards that. You know, number five, the children, the people who die every single day from starvation. I don't want to contribute to that. Sorry if I lost track of my numbers. What is that, like number five or number six? You know, I want to have the least impact on my government as possible, or the least impact on, you know, public finances and public spending as much as possible, by being responsible for my own health, by eating the diet which I know promotes the best health in me, and as a result means that I personally need less insulin, less, you know, medical care, etc. probably, yeah, and like I said, guys, there's always more. So for me, like I said, it's always changing. My own internal definition of what it is to be vegan. For me, I always associate veganism with outcomes. You know, not just an action, but an outcome. Because we're not doing vegan. We're not vegan for the sake of being vegan, but we're vegan because of a reason. And you know, my reasons will always, you know, change or improve, or I'll add something. They'll become more specific. And I think the big thing to take away from this, guys, is, you know, that, you know, you may yourself have, you know, different things for why you're vegan. You know, it could just be for the animals, but the important thing to take away from this is that the, excuse me, multiple benefits of veganism, and therefore there are multiple reasons to go vegan. You know, I've said this a number of times on my channel, but you don't want to just come from veganism from, you know, one perspective of the animals, because when you do that, you're really hampering, you know, your ability to turn other people vegan, because you're not using all of the arguments available to you. You know, if someone won't go vegan for the animals, then why don't you use, you know, it looks like the sun's coming out. If you're not going to go vegan for if someone isn't going to go vegan for the animals, then you need to use a different, you know, angle of attack. You need to use a different argument to get them to go vegan. So, like I said, you know, that person could have cancer, they could have heart disease, they could have diabetes, you know, they could be someone that doesn't care about animals, doesn't care about their own health, but they care about the environment in which they live in. For example, they could be someone who lives, you know, near the coastline. It could be that the house, you know, is near there, and that they worry that someday the house could go into the sea, you know, etc. You know, there's plenty of reasons. So never, you know, sort of pigeonhole yourself into, you know, just one aspect of veganism. There are multiple aspects of veganism, multiple benefits, and as a result, multiple arguments. So sorry if this video has been, let me see, 27 minutes long now, roughly. That was never my intention. But I hope this is of some use to some of you. Sorry if I rambled on a bit too much. Like I said, I think, you know, the majority of those figures that I've given you throughout, I mean, they are rough, and it might not be exact, so don't quote me on all of them, you know, but they are, but you know, roughly that's pretty much what they are. Yeah, and it'd be good, guys, if, you know, perhaps you could share with me in the comments below why you're vegan. So, you know, share with me, you know, why you went vegan in the first place, and since then, you know, have your reasons for being vegan, you know, if they changed, if they improved, you know, etc. And, you know, what arguments do you use when you're speaking to people to try and get them to go, you know, vegan? So I hope this was useful, guys. Until next time, God bless as always, all the best to all of you. I hope everyone's doing very well. And as always, remember, go high carb, low fat, low protein, high fiber, whole food, plant-based vegan. I nearly forgot it then. Alright, bye-bye, guys. And I really wanted to, you know, go vegan, and I was looking on YouTube, and I came across different videos. There was this one guy in England across the way over there, my hand right, and he was making videos saying, you know, you can eat bagels, you can eat this, you know, all this processed junk food. Straight away I knew, you know, that's not for me, that's not the direction I want to take my life in. And then you know, by the grace of God, I managed to come across Harley. So I came across Dune Rider, Harley Johnstone, for those of you who don't know him, and his videos really changed my life. It was quite simply because I didn't want heart disease and I didn't want cancer. So I watched Forks Over Knives, and I came to the realization that, you know what, most of our problems in society, they're all caused by animal products, overwhelmingly, such, you know, heart disease, cancer, you know, obesity, etc. And I really wanted to go vegan, and I watched Forks Over Knives in about November, December 2013. And I did start to cut down on my animal product consumption, but I was still having animal products, I'm afraid to say. And it got to about November 2014. I didn't want heart disease and I didn't want cancer. And for me, vegan, you know, health is probably one of the biggest aspects of veganism. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say veganism is about the animals, but I think you need to look at sort of the bigger picture. You know, a lot of people, they initially do go vegan for their own health, and I don't think there's anything selfish in that. We live in a society where people are basically, you know, overweight or obese. They've got hypertension, they've got pre-diabetes, or they have type 2. You know, people people are really, they're sick and dying. So up until that point, my big sticking point was I didn't know, what can I have for breakfast? What can I, do with this meal? What can I do for that meal? And I was really, in a lot of ways, kind of stuck, and his videos really helped me to sort of realize, what, I can eat fruit for breakfast if I want to. And he in turn, introduced me to, other doctors, like Dr. McDougall, Dr. Bernard, Dr. Gregor, etc. And for me, like the biggest reason why I wanted to go vegan was because Morning guys, Chris here. So I'm just on the beach here, as you can see. It's quite nice today. Not too sunny at the moment, but it should get a bit nicer soon. So today guys, I just want to do a video on veganism and what does veganism mean to me, or why, why am I vegan basically. And this is really off the back of a video I did about a week ago now called Do YouTube Vegans Care About Animals? And this is really, guys, I'm not really sure if there's much of a purpose to this video as such. I'm basically just sharing with you what veganism, means to me. So when I originally went vegan, guys,